There are people who feel differently, who carry a weight in their chest even without knowing where it comes from, who enter a room and sense that something isn't right, even when everyone else smiles, as if everything is fine. Have you ever gone through this? Have you felt things that no one else seemed to notice? This is not madness. It is not an exaggeration. It is a sign that you see with the eyes of the soul. God has his ways of speaking to us, and often he chooses sensitive people, those who cannot ignore what is wrong, who cry easily, who care even when they shouldn't. Being this way is not weakness. It is a calling. It's God's way of saying, I set you apart because you need to see what others pretend does not exist. Maybe you have been the person who has always been told that you were too intense, or that you needed to harden your heart. But what no one understands is that this soft heart of yours, this sensitivity that seems too much, is exactly what connects you with heaven. It is not drama. It is discernment. You feel what is behind the words, perceive what is not said, understand the pain that others can't even explain. You are not here by chance. Those who feel too much carry a calling in their chest. And if you are tired of feeling out of place, confused, or even wrong for being so sensitive, know that this is just the sign that you have been chosen to hear what God speaks in silence, to see beyond appearances, to carry light where there is darkness. And before we continue this conversation, I want to ask you one simple thing. If this has touched your heart, if you felt this message is for you, go ahead and subscribe to this channel, because what comes next is for those who no longer want to live in silence, for those who know they have been set apart by God for something greater. Let's walk together. There are things that the eyes do not see but the heart feels. And the chosen ones, those whom God has lovingly set apart, have a different sensitivity. They do not live only by what others show on the outside. They perceive what is hidden. They feel when something is not right, even if no one says anything. Have you ever talked to someone and even hearing everything is fine, felt that the person was broken inside? Have you ever walked away from a place and even without a clear reason felt that bad feeling in your chest? These things are not trivial. This is discernment. It's the way God uses to warn you, to show you what is behind the appearance. The world teaches us to ignore these perceptions. It teaches us to follow only what is logical, what can be proven. But those who are sensitive to the Spirit do not live only by logic. They live by signs. They live by what they feel, even if no one else understands. Intuition, for those who have been called, is a tool. It is not just any feeling. It's like a radar that God has placed inside of you. While many are distracted, you feel. While others ignore, you perceive. And this often leaves you feeling alone, because what you see, others prefer to pretend does not exist. And I know, it can be exhausting. Sometimes you wonder, why do I feel so much? Why can't I just ignore things like others do? It's because you were set apart for this. You were chosen to be light where everything is dark. You were called to see what no one else has the courage to see. There are people who live only on the surface. You do not. You go deep. You feel the environment, read gestures, understand silence. And this is not madness. This is spiritual sensitivity. It is a gift. It is God's care for you and for others. Because through your sensitivity, many times, He wants to act, wants to alert, wants to protect. Sometimes the chosen one is the one who arrives in a place and feels a tightness in their heart and cannot explain it, but later realizes that something was wrong there, or then feels joy out of nowhere and soon understands that God was there, present, close, comforting. The chosen one does not live distracted. He lives alert. Even unintentionally, he picks up what is behind the forced laughter, the lost look, the empty conversation. And this can be heavy. It can make you want to be silent, to close up, to hide. But I want to tell you, do not hide. God did not give you this perception for nothing. This is a divine tool. It is a way for you to serve, to love, to protect. Do not deceive yourself into thinking you are weak for feeling too much. Those who feel deeply carry a heart trained by heaven. You are not just anyone. You are an answer to prayer. God raises you up to see what no one else wants to see. And He uses you as a voice, as a warning, as a beacon. It's not easy, I know. But you are not alone. And here on this channel, we speak precisely with people like you. People who feel the world differently. People who know that their sensitivity is not a defect. It is part of the mission. Stay with me, because we still have a lot to talk about. In the next part, we will talk about the weight of carrying pains that are not always yours. But first, take a deep breath and acknowledge, you are sensitive, yes, but you are sensitive because you are in tune with heaven. And that is beautiful. There are days when the body is well, but the soul is tired. You wake up feeling a strange weight, without a clear reason. The people around you seem to be fine. They keep smiling, living. But inside you there is a tightness, an anguish that has no name. This is not drama. This is a sign. There is something spiritual happening, and without realizing it, you have connected with this atmosphere. Those who have been set apart by God feel things that others can't even imagine. Sometimes you hear a simple story, something that many people overlook, but it dismantles you inside. Your heart tightens, your eyes fill with tears. You feel pains that are not yours, because your spirit picks up what the eyes do not show. This has a name, spiritual empathy. It's as if you are continually with your soul open, ready to perceive and carry part of the pain that hangs in the environment. And yes, it is tiring, very tiring. It's not a common physical fatigue. It's an exhaustion of the soul, a silent weight that accumulates and is not always easy to explain. Maybe you have tried to put this into words. You've tried to tell someone, I don't know. I'm feeling strange today. But no one understands, because what weighs on you is not visible. It is not tangible. And for that reason, many times you suffer in silence, and even without wanting to, you continue to absorb everything around you. At certain moments, your body even reacts. Your head hurts, your chest tightens, your energy suddenly disappears. As if your soul is saying, there is something here that you need to notice. This is real. Your body feels what your spirit has already understood. But this is not punishment. It is part of the mission. It is part of the calling. You feel what you feel because God entrusted you with this sensitivity. He knew that, even when tired, you would not ignore it. Even without understanding, you would care. Even without strength, you would continue praying for someone, asking for light, asking for healing. There is an important detail in all of this. Feeling does not mean carrying alone. You were not made to walk with this weight without help. God did not call you to be a reservoir of the world's pain, but a channel of healing. When the pain comes, take it to prayer. When the weight comes, give it to Him. You do not need to understand everything. You just need to trust that heaven sees you. And more. Take care of yourself. Protect yourself. Know when to step back, to breathe, to be silent. Sensitivity is not about being open all the time. It is also knowing when to close the door and recharge with God. He does not want you exhausted. He wants you available. And to be available, you need to be standing. So when the weight comes, remember this. You feel because you are connected. You perceive because you are tuned in to what is invisible. Do not blame yourself for not being able to turn off. But also, do not try to carry everything alone. Take the pain where it belongs, to the feet of God. He knows what to do with it. You are not fragile. You are sensitive. And there is a big difference in that. Your soul feels because it is alive, because it is alert. And this is a blessing, even on difficult days. In the next part, we will talk about how this sensitivity is not something abnormal, nor exaggerated. In fact, it is proof that you are in tune with heaven. Get ready, because what comes next is to remind you of who you are. How many times have you heard that you are feeling too much? That you need to stop taking everything to heart? Many people confuse sensitivity with weakness, but God sees it differently. When the world says that you feel too much, heaven responds, "You are in tune with me." The sensitivity you have is not a mistake. It is a compass. It's as if God has placed a spiritual radar inside you. But over time, from hearing so many criticisms, you started to doubt. You began to silence yourself, to ignore signs, to distrust your own intuition, and that's where many get lost. Intuition, for those who are tuned in with heaven, is like a map. When you listen to that inner voice, when you feel that something is not right, even without a logical explanation, many times it is God trying to guide you. He speaks through peace, and also through restlessness. But when you start to silence yourself, out of fear of seeming too sensitive, you drift from the path. Don't be fooled. Doubting yourself does not protect you. It disorients you. That impression you had, that feeling that came out of nowhere, it wasn't always just a random thought. Sometimes it was a warning. Sometimes it was protection. The enemy knows that if you trust your spiritual sensitivity, you will avoid many pains. So he tries to make you doubt it. He makes you feel exaggerated. He surrounds you with people who live on the surface, who do not understand your depth. But what they call drama, God calls discernment. And it's okay if not everyone understands the way you feel the world. You are not called to be understood by everyone. You are called to hear heaven, even when the earth does not understand. Those who are tuned in with the Spirit will always seem strange to those who live only in the natural. Now is the time to regain confidence in what you feel, to stop apologizing for being sensitive, for caring, for perceiving what no one says. God gave you this sensitivity for a reason. Do not hide it. Do not silence it. What you feel could be exactly the answer that someone is waiting for. Sometimes, the intuition you suppressed was the sign that could change everything. And there's one more thing. Not all rejection is negative. Sometimes, you were rejected because you were being protected. You didn't fit in that group, that friendship, that project, and that hurt. But later you realized that wasn't your place, that God was sparing you from something you didn't see at the time. Not every closed door is a punishment. Not every separation is a loss. When you are chosen, God even takes care of the invisible details. And even when you don't understand, He is organizing everything. Your sensitivity helps you perceive this before others do. So if you've been feeling a bit out of place, unsure if you should continue believing in what you feel, let me remind you, you are not crazy. You are not exaggerating. You are not alone. You are just tuned into a frequency that few can pick up. And that's okay. Now is the time to return to trusting that frequency, to hear again what heaven whispers inside you, to remember that your sensitivity is not a burden, it is a bridge. And the more you trust, the clearer the path will become. In the next part, We will talk about what happens when you ignore your own soul just to please the world. Because denying what God placed in you has a cost, but it also has a new beginning. Let's go together. There are moments in life when we feel the soul warns, the heart is restless. Something inside you screams that you shouldn't go that way. But still, you say yes. You move forward, pretend that everything is fine, and continue. You do this to please, to avoid disappointing anyone, to keep the peace. But deep down, you know that something was ignored. Everyone who is in tune with God has gone through this. They have felt that strange feeling before making a decision. They have noticed that subtle sign, that calm voice saying, "Don't go." But then came the fear of seeming crazy. Doubt came. The desire to fit in, to not disappoint anyone, came. And then, you silenced your soul. The problem is that when we ignore what we feel, the consequences come. And they come strong. Because the signs that God sends, no matter how gentle they are, carry weight. They do not come for nothing. They are guidance. They are care. And when you ignore them, you end up entering places that God wanted to spare you from. Have you ever hurt yourself by not listening to your own intuition? Have you ever regretted giving a chance to something that from the beginning you knew wasn't for you? This happens often to those who carry spiritual sensitivity, because the heart speaks before the mind understands. And when we choose not to listen, the lesson comes in practice. But don't blame yourself. This is also part of the journey. God uses these falls to teach you to trust more. Each time you ignore a sign and become frustrated, you learn to listen more attentively the next time. The chosen one learns by making mistakes, yes, but they learn. And after some scars, they begin to trust more in what they feel, even when no one else understands. There is a price to pay for silencing the soul, a high cost. When you try to please the world, you begin to drift away from yourself. And over time, you lose the connection with heaven. Not because God abandons you, but because you stopped listening. You set aside the voice that He has placed within you. And that voice is your greatest ally. It is the one that keeps you from error, that gives you direction, that comforts you when everything seems confusing. When you learn to respect that voice, everything changes. Your decisions become stronger. You feel more whole. Because you are no longer living to please others. You are living in peace with what God has placed within you. The world will always want to push you toward more logical, more secure, more acceptable paths. But the path of the chosen one is not always the easiest to explain. It is guided from within. It feels before it sees. It hears before it understands. You don't need to justify yourself for following your intuition. You don't need to convince anyone. Just walk with peace in your heart. And if at any moment you fell for not having listened to yourself, get up, learn, and listen again. The soul speaks. It speaks clearly. It speaks with love. But it also falls silent when you insist on not listening. And when this happens, emptiness appears. Anguish grows. The feeling of being lost takes over. But it's just about going back to listening. Just about returning to trust. God does not give up on speaking to you. Not even when you silence yourself. He always finds a way to remind you, "Hey, I am still here. Come back to listen to me." And this is what we will talk about in the next part. How even with all this pain, you remain open. You continue feeling. And that is precisely what makes you a channel of healing in this cold world. Understand that your sensitivity is proof of your calling. There are people who see what is in front of them, and there are people who perceive what is behind. Those who are chosen by God have this ability to see with the spirit, to hear with the soul, to pick up what no one is saying. This sensitivity you carry is not common. It is a gift from heaven. It is a spiritual ability, a silent mission. You feel the atmosphere of a place before any words are spoken. You know when something is wrong, even when everyone is smiling. It is as if God placed an antenna within you that picks up everything in the air. What is good? What is bad? What is hidden? And this is not to burden you. It is to guide you. While the world rushes after distraction and appearance, the chosen one feels the truth. And often this is uncomfortable, because spiritual truth is not always beautiful or easy to deal with. But you were not called to hide from it. You were called to perceive, to intercede, to act with wisdom. Your sensitivity is a channel. It is through it that God speaks, shows, directs. And the more you accept this gift, the more attuned you become with heaven. It's as if the connection becomes cleaner, clearer. Answers come faster. Decisions become more accurate. Because you are no longer walking alone. You walk with discernment. Many want to have this connection. They want to hear God. They want clear direction. But they are not willing to feel as you do. Because feeling hurts. Feeling requires. But feeling also heals, transforms, and frees. The intuition you have is the voice of God whispering in your spirit. Do not underestimate this. You are not exaggerating. You are aligned. You are tuned in to the invisible. And this makes you someone rare. In a world where many live anesthetized, you are the one who feels. And that is why God chose you. Use this with purpose. Use it to pray, to comfort, to guide, to protect. Your sensitivity is not a flaw to be corrected. It is a tool to be used. And in the next step of this journey, we will talk about the true calling, accepting who you are, stopping hiding, and understanding that this sensitivity is part of your spiritual identity. There are moments when you look around and feel as if you are out of sync with the world. While everyone lives rushing, distracted, anesthetized, you feel. You notice. You see what no one wants to look at. And this may make you think, is there something wrong with me? But I need to remind you, with all certainty, there is nothing wrong. You are not crazy. You are awake. Being sensitive in a world that has lost its sense is a mission. A mission that God entrusts only to those He trusts. Because it requires courage. It requires surrender. It requires resilience. And you have been set apart precisely for having these qualities, even if sometimes you doubt that. You are like a lantern in a dark environment. Where most see nothing, your light reaches. Your soul feels before reason understands. You hear God amidst the noise. You perceive what has not been said, but which screams in silence. And this, dear one, is a gift. This sensitivity is not a flaw. It is a tool. It is part of your spiritual design. It was placed there for you, to be a bridge between heaven and earth. For you to be that person who listens to what no one speaks, who welcomes, who intercedes, who does not go unnoticed by the pain of others. Perhaps you have apologized for this your entire life. Tried to appear less intense, more aloof, more normal. But God never called you to be normal. He called you to be light, to be voice, to be presence in places where no one else can stand to be. It is time to stop apologizing for being deep, to stop shrinking to fit in the wrong spaces. You don't need to be like anyone else. You need to be who God called you to be. This does not mean you will go around carrying the world on your shoulders. Being chosen also means learning to balance. It is knowing when to give of yourself, but also when to protect yourself. When to speak, but also when to be silent. When to feel, but without getting lost in the pain. This is your spiritual responsibility, to keep the flame alive even when the wind blows hard, to show that there is still sensitivity, compassion, connection with heaven, to be a living sign that God is still communicating. And He often does this through you. So accept the calling. Embrace your sensitivity as part of your identity. Walk firmly. You are not here by chance. You are an answer. You are part of the plan. And the world needs what you carry. Let's move forward together, because there is still much light to release. If you have made it this far, it is because something inside you recognized every word. Perhaps for the first time, you felt that someone gave voice to what has always been inside you. And that is exactly why this space exists, to remind you that you are not alone, that you are not wrong for feeling differently, for seeing differently, for living more deeply. This calling you carry is not a burden. It is direction. It is not confusion. It is clarity. God has awakened you to live consciously, sensitively, and truthfully, and that makes you a living sign in a time when many are lost. Now I want to hear from you. Tell me in the comments, which part of this video touched you the most? Which excerpt seemed to be written just for you? Share it, because your account may be the confirmation that someone else needs. Sometimes what you write here can reach someone who is feeling exactly as you felt before watching.